The one juror who was convinced YNW Melly was not guilty, resulting in a deadlocked jury, has spoken out. In this shocking news article, she was asked several questions about her feelings on the trial, and some of her answers are questionable to say the least. Yeah, I'm gonna read this article. This lady seems to be a little biased towards Melly. It seems like she knew who Melly was before the situation, I'm gonna be honest. It's pretty crazy. So before we get in that article real quick, let's read this motion to compel discovery from Melly's team right here. It says that they want to start the trial on October 9th, which was already discussed previously. The trial order further states that all pretrial motions must be filed 10 days prior to the trial date, or said motion should be deemed waived. On August 24, 2023, the correspondence to the state of Florida requesting the following. So they requested state A evidence USB, 45 photos on a USB right there, and a whole list of fucking photos. USB of the Sunset Lakes, the neighborhood that Melly lived in, T-Mobile records, Jeep photos, the school that would caught them on video, the car going by, and all the videos on the 9807 phone number, which was Melly's phone. The phone number that they were trying to say was not Melly's phone. The undersigned further advised that she would bring the necessary USB to the state attorney's office to copy the requested items. Several days later, a response was received from the state attorney giving multiple excuses as to why she would not copy the previous exhibits, and then finally stated that she could not make the evidence available until September 14th or 15th. So the prosecutor in the case is basically delaying all this evidence being sent to Melly's team for whatever reason, we don't really know, but she's delaying it until basically 30 days before the next trial. Less than 30 days. Pretty fucking wild that she's delaying evidence being sent over. I'm confused why they don't already have all this evidence. Because of the last trial, they should have already had this in their system. Maybe they just needed to do it again just because it's a second trial. I don't know, but this is an unacceptable date, as motions to the text messages, videos, pictures, and emails must be filed by September 29th. So giving them only 2 weeks, obviously. The state attorney further advised that the defense was in possession of these documents. Oh, basically what I just said, that they already had these documents, so why are they requesting them? Which in fact we are. However, out of thousands of pictures and text messages that are in discovery, only a select few were used by the state. None of the attorneys on the defense team had the ability to read minds, so it is possible to write a motion regarding specific pictures or text messages without knowing what pictures or messages are intended to be moved into evidence. A huge amount of time was wasted during the last trial due to the defense being advised of specific pictures, emails, texts, and videos as they were being introduced. This was unnecessary, and the undersigned is making a good faith effort to avoid a repeat of the last trial. So Melly's team is saying the state attorney was wasting a shit ton of time, dumping large amounts of pictures and videos and shit, but then only using like 50 to 100 when they dumped like literally thousands. I mean, I remember like Instagram alone was like 400,000 pages of Instagram messages or something, like ridiculous. I don't know how Melly talked to that many people on Instagram. That's fucking crazy to me. But YNW Melly was framed in double murder. Holdout jurors convinced. Remember, like a month ago, I put up a video right here, you know, juror exposed. Basically, there was one juror that was saying Melly was not guilty, and they were like not gonna budge at all. That juror then convinced 2 other people to come to their side, then it was 9-3 pretty much. All right, here we go. YNW Melly was framed. It's the only explanation that makes sense considering the evidence, the lack of evidence, and the conflicts in the evidence, according to the holdout juror whose commitment to not guilty verdict led to a hung jury and a mistrial for Jamel Demons. In her first interview since the jury's deliberation ended, juror number 7, who asked not to be named out of concern for public response, said she was able to convince 2 other jurors to vote against conviction, leading to a 9-3 deadlock. So basically, this article that I read a month ago on video, saying that one manipulative woman was to blame for the YNW mistrial, another juror said that. I remember seeing a few comments saying that this juror was potentially lying and that there wasn't actually one woman. Well, it was, because here she is now. I believe that he didn't do it and it wasn't proved in court. This was a really bad situation of being framed. Melly was a very good person. He always tried to help people around him. Okay. How does this lady know that Melly's a really good person and he was trying to help people around him? Was this lady secretly Melly's friend or something? How the fuck does she know that he's a good person and he's trying to help people around him? That's just a wild statement to me. I need to know how any logical person could say that Melly was framed. That is just not a thing. That does not exist. Ceases to exist at this very moment, dude. Melly was not framed. So that statement, first off, is alarming just for a juror to say that. But missing pieces of information left room for 3 jurors to doubt. Phone records show Demon's phone never left the car during the time in question. But there was enough time after the recording session for Demons to leave the car and for someone else to come in, the juror said. That theory is also ridiculous too. One of Melly's friends testified up there and said that they never stopped the car. Everyone was sleeping. There's no text messages from any of the phones saying to stop and pull over and switch seats or anything. And one of his friends also testified that Melly didn't get home with them. It was just the 4 guys that were separately. Melly did not arrive at the house with them and switch cars. Like, one of his friends admitted that. And he looked like he was truthful. The other kid that said Melly did switch cars was questionable. The weapon used to commit the crime was never recovered. That's good for the defense, obviously, but you can convict a murder without a murder weapon, so. Could it have been someone else for the holdout juror? Doubt was more than reasonable. Between them leaving the recording studio and the phone pinging in the Everglades, anything could have happened. Yeah, but what? If not Melly, then who? I agree that there is a little bit of doubt here, but holy shit does a lot point to that back seat that Melly got in, dude. And his phone goes all the way to the Everglades for whatever reason. It's so sus. Like, you have to admit how fucking suspect that is. In the jury room, most wanted to convict, she said. The prosecution's insistence that there was some kind of gang activity that explained why Demons would suddenly kill his friends carried a lot of weight with most jurors. Others read it as racial profiling. Wow. I didn't know that the gang situation would resonate with a lot of jurors. That's actually kind of upsetting because I always thought the gang perspective of this case was complete bullshit. I think if Melly killed his two best friends and just straight up shot them in the fucking head, both of them, this was a big argument, an emotional situation, not a gang killing. I refuse to believe he killed his friends for a gang killing. That's so fucking stupid. The only reason why they brought up the gang shit is because they have to prove the gang shit in order to charge him with something else that was in the case. I don't remember. It's a certain charge. They have to prove that the killing was in furtherance of a gang. It's one of the charges that he got. I don't remember which one. I think they were just trying to tack on more charges, to be honest. This was not a gang killing. This was an emotional relationship killing about something that we haven't figured out yet. This was not a matter of fact, but a matter of race, she said. Demons Henry and the victims were all black. The lead police investigator and lead prosecutor were white. The holdout juror, who is black, said she felt the gang connection was tenuous. How do I word this correctly? I don't think race has anything to do with this investigation in terms of the detective being white and the people in the cars being black. 2 people died that night. Investigators have to go with what they get. And what they got was 2 fucking dead bodies and a kid that got in the car and then dipped and didn't go to the police, and his phone was tracked in the car, and evidence that points to that back seat being where the bullets came from. This does not do with fucking race. This has to do with evidence pointing to that back seat that kid got in. Period. This is not about fucking race. Just imagine what Sagchaser and Juvie's families feel like after reading a statement like that. A juror is blaming race on this. Like, that is honestly kind of disgusting. Prosecutors point out to text messages that made it appear Demons was having an argument with the victims over creative credit and compensation for their work. Those messages, the juror said, may not have came from Demons. I wasn't there, but I believe he was being framed based on those text messages, she said. Yeah, that was some of the doubt that these messages from this phone, Melly's team really casted some doubt on these messages. But then you see the thousands of selfies on the phone and thousands of text conversations between Melly and another person. And it's like so obvious it's Melly typing. They were not borrowing each other's phone. That's a complete bullshit theory. It was his team casting doubt. That's what their job was. State Attorney's Office, which is prosecuting the case, did not comment on the case. Demons is being held without bail and Brower remain jail. Defense lawyers have asked for the judge to set bail while he waits trial. A bond hearing is tentatively scheduled for later this month, and the jury selection is set to begin October 9th. That's pretty much it for this article. Absolutely baffling. I'm gonna be honest, this is one of the most biased jurors I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how I feel about this, because this lady's allowed to have her opinion. She's allowed to, say whatever she wants. But holy shit, is it kind of delusional. I do agree with the gang shit being kind of useless. That shit was always stupid as fuck to me. I mean, I feel like overwhelming majority amount of people were not really convinced by a lot of what Melly's team was saying in court. But apparently this juror was completely convinced about everything. So pretty shocking to see the perspective of the juror that caused this jury to be deadlocked. Fucking love you boys. Hit subscriber now. Peace out.